Welcome in, everyone. We're going to be doing a deep dive on the PDD whale that came in here back on July 8th. This contract actually ended up making a very significant big move. We're going to look at the flow. We're going to kind of look at some other details that would give us an idea that this was a potential buy, and just kind of look at all the details on everything here. So let's kind of get started here. So again, this was posted on X as well for everybody, but this was posted on July 8th, 2025. We had a PDD whale come in on the 822 110 calls, 20,000 contracts against 61 open interest. Average was 510 for 10 million. So this is kind of how that flow hit that certain chain there. Can obviously tell it's an opening trade based off that volume to open interest. We only had 61 open contracts at the time. Clean, clear opening trade. You see that big spike in the net call premium as well there. And just kind of the way that hit that flow feed as well too. You can see how that IV is coming up here. And I'm going to pull it up in the contract as well too, so you can kind of see that other flow around it. But I mean, this was hitting our tape. You can see it's all within about a minute here. That's pretty unusual there. So that's just kind of how it's posted on X there. Now let's actually look at the trade here. So again, this came in here on 7/8. You can see that 20,000 contracts there, 10 million. Always have to look at the raw flow feed here. So kind of digging back here. So like I said, we wanted to take a peek at that flow that was around that, and I kind of want to bump the filters up a little bit. So you can see this one down here. This isn't going to really be part of it, a little early, but you can see I like to look at that flow kind of around the same time just to make sure there's not any stragglers, anything that could also be related to that initial whale that came in. So you can see right away, big size coming in here, good premium there. So I'm keeping an eye on the IV, your spot price, and that bid-ask spread. So coming up here next. So I'm watching the IV here. So you see that spike there. Okay, we're coming into the ask. That's a good sign. You can see this is all part of the repeated hits here. So we had a little flow come in after. IV stays the same. Now, what's key here is you can see that IV spike here when you're getting more size and premium. This would read as a buy. Again, this isn't 100% a science and always going to work every time, but these are context clues that you have to use. You can see, again, that IV spiking, so it's a good sign there. Now, one big misconception here, we're going to kind of touch on this when we get to the bid side candle after I kind of go through some of this, but not all bid side flows a close, and I'll show everybody why here. So again, here was our entry. At the time, we knew it was a longer contract. So what I like to tell people, when you see longer contracts, you can usually get a good discounted entry. I like to chart out so this would have been a call, so I would have liked to chart it out a good support spot, good spot for a bounce, look at the moving averages, something like that. Because this whale actually filled these again at 510. These dropped all the way down to about 260. So you could have got a really good discount on these if you take your time, chart out some of these longer plays. Again, like I tell people, the longer the contracts, probably the slower the expected move is on those contracts. Shorter contracts like weeklies, obviously that whale wants those contracts to move a little quicker. So coming down here again, they did ended up hitting a little low of 250-ish, so you could have got about a 50% discount on something like that. We started to move up here, kind of came back to life here back on the 15th, came back down, and then we started to really get our rally here on the 17th. So you can see we kind of came back up here. And then, so the bid side candle now. So typically when people see bid side, they're going to think they're selling. So again, looking at that raw flow always helps. And you can't always confirm if this is a close or a open at the ask until that open interest on the next day. But let's look at that raw flow feed here. We'll see if it lets me pull it up on the bid here. So didn't have really any flow to go around the beginning. So typically, again, when you're selling premium, it would be the opposite of buying, where you're looking for that IV to decrease and that spot price to decrease. So you don't really get any good kind of clues here at all. Maybe a little here because that IV did increase here on the 200 with the bigger premium. So could have maybe thought of it there, but I mean, you can see it coming in here. Pretty good discount, and that spread was a little wider too. But again, so that would probably be your context clue, possibly a buy at the bid, but wouldn't be able to know until the next day. So when we're looking at 718, you can see 10,000, and you can see majority of that trading on over to 721. So all those contracts carried over. They weren't closes, because if they were closes, these would have dropped down to about 10,000. So looking at this here, and then obviously we're just kind of off to the races. We ended up kind of hitting that high here on 723, hit 1320. So those contracts ran from 510, because that whale averaged up technically a little bit at 512. So I just kept the average at 510 to a high of 1320. It's 158%. And these contracts are now 7% in the money as well. So one other thing I'd like to show everybody too, so when you're kind of looking at that raw flow feed as well, you'll always get that net premium chart. I always kind of like to just pop that up, take a peek. So again, looking back on July 8th, you see that massive spike in the net call premiums, and then kind of that dump that next day. But I mean, you're not seeing a lot of put premium come in here. For the most part, flatter premiums here. I mean, you got that spike in the net call premium there, and then there's your big move up. So looks like our whale's actually still in for now. I mean, they're 7% in the money, so they could exercise it at any time, but that's just kind of our deep dive here on PDD. Again, like I always tell people, always look at the raw flow feed. All you do to do that is just click on that contract date. You'll just click on that contract date. As it hits the flow feed, it'll pull up your little volume chart. That's what I call it. And then always just kind of look at that flow feed. So again, this is that original entry here. You can just see that IV kind of increasing. That spot price coming in at the ask. Pretty good sign that it was a buy, and it looked like it worked out great for everybody. All right, everybody, that was our deep dive on PDD. If you'd like to try unusual whales at a discount, I have a discount code as well. If you'd like to join Stock Hub, I teach a lot of this in here. We do live streams every week. There is also a link in the description. All right, everybody, have a great weekend.